You guys, I can fit back into a pair of my jeans.
Oh, yeah?
That's how we're opening up the podcast. Some good news.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that's a good thing.
Yes, it is a good thing. And that was what I was going to open up the podcast with, a segment. Tell me something good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess same thing for me too. I can fit back. I mean, it's not like I couldn't fit into my jeans,
Mm-hmm.
but they were getting a little bit tight
Yes.
from eating snacks like every single night, which this year I've cut back on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat as many snacks. I've failed in working out every day, which I plan on doing.
How can you fail at something that the year just started?
Okay.
You can always get back on the wagon.
Yes, okay, so I didn't fail. I just haven't stuck to my plan as of yet.
Okay, now that sounds more more positive.
Yes. So I have not failed. You're right.
Man's talking about failing, the year just started. Like, what happened to the rest of the months?
Anyway, yes, I just have not stuck to my full plan as of yet. I've worked out still a few days, but I have not been as consistent as you. So, very proud of you for that.
I'm just trying to get my money's worth from this Peloton, okay?
So, one thing that I've noticed is using the bike for non-cycling classes, you almost need an additional screen. Like we do have another TV that I've yet to put up.
Yeah, we took it from my parents' house.
However, we need to mount it on the wall so we can see the screen better, because when you're doing like core workouts like on the floor, you can't really see the screen anymore.
That's why some people opt for the Bike Plus instead of just the regular bike.
The screen turns and stuff, right? Yeah.
But I heard you can actually buy like an attachment on Amazon to attach to the bike so that you can turn the screen.
Yeah, I would imagine you could. However, I think the TV in the room, just a small little, like we have a 32-inch TV that I'm going to mount on the wall, right up in the corner, tilt it down a bit.
Yes.
So, yeah, you'll be able to see it from the ground and see it very well.
I'm so content with my Peloton. I really am. Yeah. And the next big thing, though, is controlling what I eat. That is the real hard part. I found like getting on the bike, because it was so much fun. It was easy, right? But when you're in the kitchen and you're hungry and you're coming home from work and you're like, what am I going to eat? Yeah. Well, no, it's not lazy. It's if I missed my lunch, I'm coming home and the first thing I'm looking for is something to pop inside my mouth so I can eat something, because I'm so hungry. So if I have like chocolate covered almonds, guess what? Guess what's so easy for me to grab? Chocolate covered almonds.
It's like some cheese, some kielbasa.
Yeah.
Anything quick that you can just like cut up and grab, right? And then you do make your meal, but at the same time, I think the other hard part too is actually making a proper meal instead of just buying like frozen food, popping it in the oven that you know is not the healthiest for you, right? I think that's the other hard part, because you get home from work, you're tired and not necessarily lazy. I guess that's not the proper word. You're just not in the mood to cook up a full meal, right? It's harder to get that motivation to do that.
Well, that's why you got to meal prep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or make enough for the weekend where you have leftovers.
Yeah. But I think that's part of the challenge too. And then after the meal, to not grab that bag of chips and sit down on the couch. That's the other hard part.
Yeah. See, and that's why I cut off all chips now inside the house for me. All the chips that I like to eat, I refuse to buy them now, because I know that I will snack on them right after I eat supper. And then I fall asleep. So that's a no for me now. And I find it's been helping, you guys. Like, honestly, these jeans have no stretch to them. And the fact that I can fit back into them screams that the Peloton works. I'm disciplining myself now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
So I want to know, what's something good with you? How was your week?
Tell us something good.
Yes. I think I was listening to the radio or something. They were asking their listeners, are you vulnerable with your partner? Like, do you guys have mental health check-in days? Like once a week? Are you checking in with your friends, your family, saying, oh, how's your mental health doing? I find like I find I'm pretty vulnerable. Like, I tell you when I'm sad. You don't have to ask. It'll be like some mornings before work or even on the weekends. I'll just look at you and like, I feel sad today.
Yeah. Yeah, you are pretty open about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some times that I do like ask you, like, you seem a little bit off. What's wrong? Um, but for the most part, yeah, you'll just come out and tell me,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll ask at that point why, what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, and to be honest, a lot of time it's just stuff at work, just stress at work.
Oh, like you don't stress me?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay.
Of course not.
Oh, let me just drink my coffee here. Drink my tea.
I do not stress her at all. See these gray hairs? She ain't got none. I have gray hairs. That means she stresses me.
No. I don't have gray hair and I still look young because I'm black. Okay? I got them jeans, the youth jeans.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, no. But you are pretty open about it, and it is good. So what were they saying on the radio? Like, are most people vulnerable to their partner?
Well, by that time I got to work and I didn't actually hear the rest of it. But yeah, I want to know, like, are you guys vulnerable with your partner? Do you tell them I'm not having a good day today? Like, I'm actually really curious, and I feel like maybe we talked about this before, like how well we communicate. But I'm very curious now that now there's more people listening to this podcast. Are you vulnerable with your partner? Do you tell them when you're sad?
Yeah.
Or do you check in with your friends? Like, do you call your friends and say, hey, how are you feeling?
Yeah. I think it is important, and it does build the relationship. Like, it builds more of a positive relationship, I find, because then you kind of know and can help each other grow and get through things, rather than feeling like you're always doing it alone.
Yeah.
Right. And to have someone that you can
talk to,
right, is nice. It is, because we don't always have those people in our lives that we can open up with.
Now there's more like resources to get the mental health, I think, help that you need. Like, there's better help online where there's a bunch of therapists that you can talk to. I mean, I signed up for that. I never actually I never went through with it, but I signed up for it. I think another thing too that stops a lot of people from getting maybe the help that they need, or maybe talking to someone, is one, you never know who's judging you, right? Either family, friends, like you said, some people don't have that. And also cost. Like, sometimes it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of the time, honestly, I find it sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger than it is to maybe even talk to like a family member, because then it's like, oh, they're gonna think I'm always sad. Right. Because I'm not always sad. Like, a lot of times, like, I'm smiling and I'm joyful, but even those people have their sad days.
Yeah. See, I think the fact about talking to someone that you don't know makes it easier, in a sense of there's less judgment going forward, or
maybe at the start, because you're like, oh, they're a stranger, they don't know me, I'm never gonna see them again, type of thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you have to see the person again in a normal, like, friendly setting, and it's now awkward if you don't have that relationship from the start of being open with each other. Like what I mean is, if you have a friend that you build the relationship right from the start, that you guys are both open and honest with each other, right? Then you feel comfortable sharing certain things, right? But if you have friends where you never started the relationship out like that, and then all of a sudden you decide you want to share something, you don't know if they're going to judge you, and
make them feel awkward.
Yes, and
okay,
now
I see where you're going.
the next time that you guys do hang out, that's going to be in the back of your mind, and you're going to be like, well, what do they think about that?
I find that more women are more open and honest about their feelings compared to
Mhm.
men.
Of course, they are.
Mm.
I think society's trying to get men to open up more. That's what I've seen the trend is. Um, but I still don't think men are as open as women are.
Like to each other.
Yeah, to each other, to anybody in general. I think men still hold in a lot.
Mm.
I think it's so ingrained in us to just kind of hold it in and deal with it ourselves. I think it
And find a solution.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think women definitely are more open to their feelings and to asking for guidance, asking for help, and discussing how they truly feel.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Um,
What are some questions that they ask you when you signed up for BetterHelp?
I don't remember. It was like sometime last year when I did it.
Oh,
But I did Google. I came prepared. I did Google some quick questions. If you, after listening to this podcast, you're like, oh, let me go ask a friend, how are they doing? Well, your
mhm.
girl got you. Okay. So here's what you can ask. How are you feeling today, really? Physically, mentally? Question 2, what's taking up most of your headspace right now? That's actually a really good question. What's taking up most of your headspace?
I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know. Um, I would say, ooh, I don't know. Like, see, these questions, like, I really have to like sit down and think about.
Okay, so on a scale 1 to 10, how is your mental health today?
Today, I would say it's pretty good. I would give it a good 7, 8.
On a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the best.
Yeah,
7 to 8?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, obviously, there's things I would prefer to be a little bit better.
Hmm.
So I cannot say 10.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement.
Hmm.
But overall, I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mine, I would say the same.
yeah.
Yeah, 7 or 8. What about yours? Is yours 10 being the best and 1 being the worst? How is your mental health today? How are you guys feeling? Another one is, are you getting enough sleep? Exercise? Did you do something that made you feel good today? And then what's something you can do today that would be good for you? So welcome back to this Thing of Ours podcast
Where we talk about all of life's highs and lows.
and everything in between. I was FaceTiming my nephew, my god baby, this morning.
Hmm.
He's turning 1 next Friday. I asked my sister because they are in Montreal, and obviously the first language in Quebec is French. I asked them like, "Oh, are they speaking French in daycare?" And they do, but we speak English at home, right? Like
Hmm.
that's our first language. And I was asking her like, "Oh, what do they like what books can I buy him to, help him improve on his French, having my niece improve on her French?" And she was actually saying that they have this toy or this little machine where they have little cards. You insert that card into a machine and it says the word in English and also in French. I needed that invention when I was younger. No, like for real. Like,
Yeah,
where was that invention? That is absolutely amazing to have the machine say the proper pronunciation in English and in French.
yeah, yeah. Because I learning another language isn't easy. It actually isn't, and I think hearing the full sentence in English
Mhm.
and in French, you get a better understanding of it rather than just, well,
But
I don't
the
know.
crazy thing to me is though, when I talk to people and their first language isn't English, and they tell me that they learned English through music, through watching TV shows, like I don't know. Like for me, I've
Like, how do
tried
you
that.
do that?
Yeah, I've tried to learn French through that, like by that way, and it's never worked for me.
Hmm.
It has not worked for me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I find there's some people who are very good at picking up languages compared to others, or maybe it's just how badly do you want to learn that language. I don't know,
No,
but for me, it was really hard to learn French.
it's funny. I actually had a client the other day that came in, and as she came back in
Mhm.
later, And I asked her, oh, okay, so how was your day? She said, oh, it's good. It's good. I had a class. I said, oh, well, class for what? And she said, oh, I'm trying to learn French.
Hmm.
So she already speaks Mandarin. That was her first language.
Okay.
And then she learned English. Moving to Ottawa, she learned English, and now she wants to learn French.
Hmm.
But she said this is now her fourth attempt at learning French.
Oh,
She's having a
wow.
very hard time.
Mm-hmm.
She said this time's going a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's like it's kind of, it was impressive to me that she hasn't given up and
Mm.
she's still trying to learn it,
Yeah.
because that's a goal that she wants to achieve. And I feel like learning multiple languages is very good, and I would love to. Like, I literally only speak English, and I think learning other languages would be very beneficial. Like, I would love to just be able to communicate with anybody anywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to. But yeah, no, I think learning languages as a kid
Mm-hmm.
is a lot easier. And I have actually read that once you grow up, it's a lot harder to actually pick up those languages. And even if you do, it's nearly impossible to get rid of the accent that comes with it, right? Whereas if you learn it as a kid, then you can actually pick up the vocabulary, you can pick up the pronunciation and not have an accent when you actually speak it. Yeah, so I think it is really important to teach your kids, like, if you want them to speak multiple languages, I think it is very important to start them young so they can learn it a lot easier, first of all,
But
because
the thing is, it's hard when your parents speak English and you're there learning in school French. Like it is hard. It's very hard because sometimes your parents can't help you and all you hear is English all day, but then you go to school and it's like, well, now I'm trying to learn French. That was the case for me. My other sisters, though, they learned French. They're fluent. They're bilingual. My
well,
parents
okay.
are now bilingual. But for me, when I was growing up, I told you that I had like I went to speech therapy,
Mhm.
and it was hard for me to pick up another language.
Yeah.
And having my parents speak to me in English, because that's what the speech therapist told them to do, was like, oh, maybe we should keep her in English immersion instead of trying to put her in French immersion so that she learns English better.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I think that was my dad actually told me that that was like a huge mistake, and he wished that he didn't listen to the speech therapist, because he wanted me to speak French, but it was so hard for me growing up to speak French because all like to communicate with me, it had to be in English,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but
So
I get why the speech therapist said that. They
mhm,
wanted you to master one language
yeah,
rather than just do both
mhm,
mediocre, you know, and not really be able to do either or.
mhm,
So I get their theory behind what they said.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, you are right though. It is hard if the parent only speaks the one language and you're trying to get your kid to learn another language.
mhm.
It's like you can't really help them.
I can't help them with their pronunciation,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean. That toy would be like that toy would have been perfect growing up,
Mm.
right? Having the like, I know there's growing up there was phonics. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was like one of those online TV special at the time where you would get this big box and then they would have like, how do you say
Oh,
A B?
hooked on phonics.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
yeah. Um, so that helped growing up with me speaking English, but like having that toy to say, how do you say welcome in French, and you say it properly, that would have been perfect,
Hmm.
but now there's things like leapfrog. When I was at the store, I saw the leapfrog 100 words, and they had French, Spanish, English, French, like you can switch back and forth. But I think it's really cool that they have different cards, like you say your numbers, you put one inside the machine, and she said it says it in French. You put a shirt, like the card that has a picture of a shirt, you put that in the machine reads it, it says shirt in English, and then it says it in French. So I think that's super cool. Like,
Hmm.
that's really cool. That is a very good invention.
Yeah, no, it is.
I wonder what other like activities there are for kids, because that, or she didn't even say for kids. That's for adults too. I feel like adults can use that. I would use it.
Yeah. I mean, whatever really helps, right?
Mm,
If there's little tricks and little games that you can play, I feel like our brains do pick up on things easier when it's, I quote unquote, less boring. But yeah, anyway, so we are looking for ideas for things to help children learn different
yeah.
languages, and like there's other things too
There's
when it
Duolingo that's in
yeah,
them too. Yeah.
but I mean what I mean is like I want to know little tricks that you guys use to basically just raise children in a sense of having them learn faster and quicker different
Hmm.
things in life, such as math or languages,
Science.
science, like certain things. Like I'm sure there's little things that you guys must do with your children if you have children
Mhm.
that you've come across and that has helped because yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't know.
was bad at math at one point, and I remember every summer, my parents would go to like Chapters, which is the Barnes and Nobles in the States. Barnes and Nobles.
Barnes.
Is it
Barnes
Barnes and Nobles?
Barnes and Nobles,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that in the States. And they would get me math workbooks, and I wouldn't be able to go outside until I finished my math.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing though. I don't feel like
But it helped. It helped a lot.
did it though?
Yes, because at the time, obviously, you're a kid, and you're like, I just want to go outside.
Hmm.
But but going into like the next grade, I didn't feel lost. I felt prepared, and I felt like, okay, I can do grade whatever, grade 5, grade 6, because I was already kind of learning that math in the summertime. Like I was learning grammar, English grammar in the summertime for grade 6, so it helped me be
Yeah.
prepared. Because I remember the year before that, my teacher was like, she's going to grade whatever. I remember it was the last parent teacher interview night, whatever. And they were
Mhm.
saying you should probably help her with the math during the summertime, help her with the French during the summertime, so that when she goes into the next grade, she doesn't feel lost like she does now,
Yeah.
and it helped.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it will help if you end up actually doing it.
Mhm.
But what I mean is forcing your kids to sit down and do just a book that is not fun, I don't think personally, I don't think is how I would do it.
Well, no, they had fun activities. Like they had connect the dots, but the dots were all numbers. You had to connect 1 to 2, 3 to
Okay.
4. But the thing is, I always wanted to do just the fun games
Yeah.
in the book. I didn't want to do the math.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I
I was
mean.
skipping towards the fun
Like
games.
there's got to be ways to make these activities that are needed that
Hmm.
you need to teach your kids. There's got to be different ways that people know to actually make it fun, that your kid wants to do it,
Hmm.
enjoys doing it, and it'll make it easier and faster for them to learn it,
Yeah.
right? And that's basically what I was trying to ask.
Or even improve their vocabulary, like reading wise. I wonder how do they how are people doing
Mm,
that in today's 2024? Because all this technology, the kids have to be able to learn faster at things.
should be able to.
Mm,
Should be able to because there's more access to everything. But then again, are they looking at the right things? Because there's a lot of things that are just plain distractions,
yeah. Hmm.
right? So you got to direct them in the proper way.
I remember my parents, they spent a lot of money on tutors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did. They spent a lot of money on tutors for me. It didn't work out very well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever had a tutor necessarily.
Well, my tutor was for French.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see for me, I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast before, but kind of the same thing that happened with you. Your teacher said like you need to work on this because she's going to struggle next year.
Mm.
So during Christmas break, like I was in French immersion. So I was actually in French classes, right?
Like all your
all
Classes
classes,
in French. Okay.
right? From junior kindergarten
Mhm.
up until grade 4. But for some reason, don't know why or what happened, um, my teacher, there was actually me and one of my friends. So the teacher said the same thing to his parents that they said to mine, that you need to switch him out of French immersion. You need to switch him out because he is not going to pass this year. So,
See, now I'm thinking, like, is it better to hold back a kid? You guys can let me know. Is it better to hold back a kid and then allow them to hopefully try again, and they'll pick up the language, or they'll pick up the course, they'll pick up whatever they need to learn, they'll do better doing it a second time,
mm,
or switch them out and then making it easier for them?
yeah, because, yeah, like I ended up switching in the middle of the year
Mhm.
over the Christmas break. So I finished the first part of the year up to Christmas break
Mhm.
in my French immersion class. And then after that, I switched over to a new class with all new students
Mhm.
for the remainder of the year after the Christmas break. And if you look back, like if I look back on it now, what you were just saying, it's almost as if, like, I mean, I didn't have a choice at the time, right? It wasn't my decision, but it basically taught me to just give up on French and just go the easy route.
You think that's what it taught you?
Well, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, because after that, I never cared to ever learn French again,
Hmm.
right? I didn't need it now. However, if they would have been like, you need to buckle down or else your kid is not going to pass, instead of giving me the easy out
Hmm.
of just switch, you know? No, they should have said, your kid is not going to pass this year. You need to do something, get him a tutor, do what you need to do
Hmm.
so he can learn this and pass it,
Yeah.
right? And then you're right, if I didn't pass, that would then be a learning experience and I have to try again.
Hmm.
But I think both those options would have been better than just giving up
Hmm.
and taking the easy route.
Yeah.
I think looking back, it would have been better for
But
me.
the thing is, you don't want your kid to fail, because then they feel bad. Like, you seeing your friends moving on to, let's say, the fifth
Well,
grade, and it's like, well, why is so and so moving on to the fifth grade and I'm still here in fourth grade? Like, things like that. I think that's what parents are taking into consideration too. Like,
well, yeah, no, and I get that, but at the
no one really
same
wants to see
time,
their child fail.
I get that, but at the same time, how many times as a kid, as a baby, learning to walk, how many times they fall down
Mm.
and they try again? They fall down, they try again, they fall down, they try again.
Speaking of that, my nephew is walking. Sorry, that such a random cutoff. My nephew is walking, you
Yes,
guys. Oh my
he
gosh.
finally stood up on his own without holding anything.
My sister said it was 30 seconds. He stood up by himself and then he fell.
Yeah.
But he stood up for 30 seconds.
But see, and that's what I mean. As a baby,
Hmm.
we allow them to fall and get back up, fall and get back up. We allow them to do that. At what point as parents, do we stop allowing them to do that and allowing them to start taking the easy route? You know what I mean? So, is it better to let them learn by failing and letting them know that failing is okay
Hmm.
as long as you try again rather than just giving up and just taking the easy route? You know what I mean?
I don't know, but we'll eventually see one day when we have our own kids, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know. Any opinions? Because I am very curious what people think on that topic,
Mhm.
on that question. Because for me, in my looking back on my past, I think, and like, I don't, you know, I understand why my parents did it. They didn't want me to fail. I get that. I
Mhm.
totally understand that. You don't ever want to see your kid fail and you don't want them to be left behind and all those things, right? And I totally understand that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, looking back, I think it would have been more beneficial for me to be able to speak both languages. rather than just never ever try to learn it again because I
Yeah.
didn't need it anymore.
Well, now that you're an adult, you can try on your own now
Yes.
to learn it. Like there's activities now, like we mentioned earlier, Duolingo that can help,
Yeah.
right? When you have your breaks at work, you can do Duolingo.
I do have it on my phone.
Mhm.
I have the app.
Yeah. And honestly, I think as parents, it really is just a trial and error. Like when we were at the thrift store yesterday, I walked past the section where it was like parenting. We went to Value Village, which is a thrift store, and they have a bunch of books that are super cheap there, like $3.99. You can get 5 books, I think, for like $10 or
If you
whatever.
buy like 5, I think your 5th is free.
Yeah.
Like they got
Mm-hmm. You guys check out the thrift store when you're looking for kid books because a lot of them are in very, very good shape.
Yes.
And it's cheap, very, very cheap. But anyways, I was walking past one of the education section. I was actually looking for, a book for my nephew to read. And it was just like, oh, how to parent, how to do this, how to do that. And we mentioned this a couple podcasts ago.
There's always a how-to of everything.
Yeah. And honestly, it's all about trial and error. It really is. Like we mentioned that other podcast.
Yeah.
It is all trial and error. And I think at the time you think you're doing what's best because that's what you know is what's best. Because I've talked to my parents a lot about this topic, about how, why didn't you put me in French, or why didn't this happen, or why did you guys choose this route? Like I've asked them, what was going through their head at the time. And they told me, they said, well, we just thought we were doing what's best.
Yeah. In that exact moment, they had certain options and they chose one of them, which they thought was the best option for you at that moment.
But anyways, so that was just something that came across our minds this morning when I was talking to my sister. So yeah, I want to know what's the easiest and the hardest thing about being a parent. So comment in the comment section below. The conversation doesn't end with just me and Curtis. It involves you as well. So hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.